Well, hello and welcome back to the first regular after Halloween episode.
You know what's funny about this episode is I had a debate in my brain about what overlay I needed for this, because we're not in post-mortem anymore, even though we had that Halloween hangover episode.
Right.
But this is still another horror movie. So I was debating, I was like, well, do we just keep it going or do we just make it the normal overlay again? So it actually came down to like a coin flip, and new episode. This episode gets the old overlay.
I think that's the right call, even though
Yeah.
I promised everyone last time that we wouldn't do a horror movie for 1 week, but
Yeah.
too bad.
Tune in next week where we say we're not going to do another horror movie when we do another horror movie.
It most definitely won't be a ninja movie.
It could be.
It's probably a ninja movie.
It's
been a while.
There's still plenty. It's been a while. Yeah, it has. That was the toss-up. Bad Moon or a ninja movie. And it was like, I don't know. Whatever. Whatever works. So
I wasn't gonna watch this as part of the Halloween. I went crazy with horror movies this month, just the whole month of October, and I think I've got my fill for a little while. I'm not ready for Christmas yet, but I definitely want to like segue over to like sitcoms or something for a bit. Just change action movies, change the gears up.
It's so interesting. I doubled down. I was like, I watched all horror this month, and then Arrow Video I was like, oh, they're probably having a sale. And sure enough, they were. So I bought 12 horror movies from Arrow. They're in transit from the UK right now. So
Wow.
But like, it's so hard not to buy them when they're normally like $25, and they're like, oh, they're $10 all month.
That's a good sale.
Yeah. So
okay,
like, and I bought a region-free Blu-ray player specifically because I wanted to buy UK movies from Arrow Video, because they're cheaper than buying them American and paying for shipping with the sale,
Okay.
Because here it's like, oh, we're having a sale. It's like they're $16-17 instead of 25, and it's like they're $10.50. The exchange is $10.50,
Yeah.
So it's like from dollars to pounds. I'm like, well, here I go. I'm gonna save some money by buying an expensive foreign Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for those.
Oh, good. All right. Well, that'll be fun. I'll ask you off stream what those are, because I'm sure we've rambled enough about everything other than this movie, Bad Moon from 1996. Kind of an overlooked one, I think. So
I remember the poster, but I never saw it until actually this morning. So yeah, I'd never seen it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Pretty good. Good.
All right. Let's hit some news and then we'll jump right back into that.
I feel like I'm gonna misspeak during the news segment, because for some reason I keep thinking like Elon Musk is the new head of DC Studios. I keep getting these cross-pollinated.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about. It's not Elon Musk being the new studio head of DC, but James Gunn is that. He is one of two people that are heading up DC Studios. And it's like, wow, if anyone can course correct, it would be that guy.
Sure.
And I'm happy for it. And I'm also happy to see that Kevin Feige was like really championing him, even though it's like different team now, I am still happy to see that as well. So, who, if you don't know, is also that of Marvel Studios, and James Gunn has obviously worked with Kevin Feige,
right,
because of Guardians,
right.
So it's nice to see that camaraderie still there, you know. But that actually, this is the first bit of news that has gotten me excited about any DC movie in the future. Just because of this. I have always felt that DC is lacking leadership with what it wants to do in a cinematic universe. And I mean, the movies that we've seen, some of them are good, but they're all over the place. It doesn't seem like there's a clear direction on where to take it. But then you look at Marvel and it's like, here's our robust catalog at this point, and it all leads to something. You know, they all had a plan to get somewhere. So that's what I'm excited about. So
yeah,
maybe in a couple of years we'll see what that means. You know, it's not going to be right out of the gate because movies take time to make.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
You can't do everything all at once and then wonder why none of it sticks.
And I do have a question though.
I feel like that's kind of what the old DC mantra was.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
We made one movie. Now here's the Justice League, all of them.
Do you think DC knows about his past tweets? Because what I don't want to see happen again is James get fired for tweets he made, 10 years ago. That edginess. He got fired once. Is it double jeopardy? Could he get fired by DC for his tweets that he got fired for Marvel for? I hope not.
No. Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, good for him.
All right.
And he's still working for Marvel-ish at the moment, but I'm sure his attention is going to be undivided.
Right.
Once.
Well, I think it'll probably be like after Guardians 3 when it's like full steam ahead with DC, So somewhere in that time frame. But I don't know. I think the DC Marvel rivalry is just something that the fans made up. I don't actually think that maybe they do. I don't know. I just think it's silly. Read what you want to read. There's good stories in both of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the companies definitely played along with that, just like Coke versus Pepsi, where they take snipes at each other through the advertisements and everything. So, but I agree. Read what you want to read. If you enjoy it, rock it.
Yes.
My news is also DC related, but it's so barely a news story. It's kind of like, really, Brian, that's what you brought to the table this week. There's a look at the Batman costume, the new Batman costume from the Flash movie, if that ever comes out, because apparently that's been held back for so long that the toy companies just released some of the crap for it anyway. So now that you're starting to see Christmas ornaments, there's like Batman Christmas ornaments, and like people have put it together that, that's an iteration on the Batman Return suits, but they've done X, Y, and Z to iterate it. So he's changed in 30 years.
Right.
I really hate when that happens, when stuff's ruined through the toys. And that's something that I thought that Star Wars has actually started to do a really good job for, where like none of the you weren't able to see Baby Yoda until after that had premiered and that thing was out.
Yeah.
Good for them, because that was such they're going to drag it through every avenue, and that sucks. That makes me sad. But the fact that they were able to resist for long enough that you could be surprised by the property instead of the toy ruining the thing. Because I remember seeing that back in the prequel era, where it's not like you could avoid it, because the toys were even in. I remember walking through the frozen food aisle, and here's Star Wars action figures from Attack of the Clones.
The Black Series did that too, though. They haven't really learned. It's only been with Mandalorian that they've stopped this, let's get all these toys out before the shows, so they're on the shelves after the first episodes aired, because they were that's how I knew what Kylo Ren was because of the Star Wars Black Series. I was like, what the fuck is this? Because I had no idea, never seen that character before. And they're like, oh, that's the new villain. And oh, cool. I don't know. maybe I kind of wish I would have seen that in the fucking movie. So sorry, getting a little wound up.
As one should, because spoilers in any form, yeah, they kind of suck, and that's an interesting question for another time. Is like how do you get people hyped with for something without ruining it for them?
You know what a good case study is
That's
that
a million
for
dollar
that
question.
is the Barbarian trailer compared to the rest of the movie.
Or the
Bravo.
Halloween Ends trailer compared to the rest of the movie.
Well, that's the polar opposite, right? Where it's like they sucker punched us. They gave us the old rope-a-dope with that trailer. Where I feel like the Barbarian trailer got you super interested, but didn't tell you anything about the movie. And then it's like they pieced the trailer from like the first 10 minutes of the movie. So after that 10 minutes over, you're like, where am I? What movie is this? You know,
Okay.
because it goes through there's some twists and turns in that. And none of that was given away in the trailer. So there were like subplots and characters and developments that I had no idea were coming. So kudos to ever put that trailer together. Shame on you for putting the Halloween Ends trailer together the way that they did. You know,
They knew.
oh, of course they knew.
Did you know? Yeah, I knew.
Yeah. Oh, this is horrible. We're just going to try to sell it. We're just going to try to sell it to get people in the theater, and it worked. You know.
Yeah.
But shame on you. Shame on you, you editors. So no morals, unethical trailer making, you know.
All right.
We're gonna start some form of PETA with our hatred towards your trailer editing. So
well, that's called the internet comments section. That already exists.
Yeah, the internet comments section. All right. Let's get out of here.
So Bad Moon.
Yeah.
I had never seen this before recently either. And this was a recommendation of a friend of mine who he claimed that as a kid he could never get past the first like 10 minutes. And
of this one?
Of this movie, yeah.
Okay.
And like he what because it scared him so badly that he couldn't get past the opening of it until he was like, I don't know, 10 or 12 or something like that. So I don't know. I do think that werewolf attack is pretty fierce. That opens the movie.
It's violent and a little jarring,
mm-hmm.
You know, and the thrashing is intense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thrashing, and it's not shown, but it's like this woman who was attacked. You already saw like wounds from the attack, and so your mind is like, oh, there's new wounds that you're just not seeing them. But it is a pretty violent attack from start to finish.
Yeah.
And kind of excessively long. I mean, it's only about 30 seconds, but it's like, okay, we got it. We understand. We understand what just happened. So yeah, it was like this, you know, like the stinger of a movie. It's just trying to get you open to like what's going to happen, you know. So there's a werewolf attack while people are camping. And I do like the setup where they're like having sex. She's on top and just gets plucked like backwards right out of the tent, which is pretty crazy. But that's after that is where all the thrashing is,
right?
So, yeah. Of werewolf claws, you know.
Yeah, and then so that guy gets attacked, and then he survives. He's like an archaeologist or something on a dig in Peru or
fucking jungle. I don't know.
Some jungle. Making all the other people listen to him make out in his tent.
Yeah.
And then there's a werewolf attack and they just scatter.
Yeah, no one sees them or helps them. That's it.
Well, that's what you get when you make all your workers sit around and listen to you have relations in your tent. Like,
well, I mean, still at the end of the day, like as insulting as or rude as that is, like, you'd still kind of stay to help somebody out if they're getting attacked by a wild animal. So I don't know. I don't think like hearing sex that other people are having is like, man, I'm gonna fuck this guy. I don't care what happens to him. He's done. He's donezo, in my opinion. I don't care what happens. He could be attacked by anything, but because I heard him having sex, not gonna help him. I don't think people are gonna leave him. Maybe he was an asshole in other regards, you know. And they're just like,
he might be, because as the movie goes on, like he starts acting increasingly sinister, and we'll come back to that as we go through the movie a little bit more. So now we're in we're in America today,
Massachusetts, Nantucket. I don't know. I don't know.
Meanwhile, in Canada, where the
Martha's
movie was
Vineyard.
filmed.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just like this picturesque neighborhood where everyone's got like 2 acres of a front yard and everyone's got their own private road.
Mm-hmm.
Just picturesque northern Pacific, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Pacific Coast, Seattle area, somewhere, Oregon. I don't know geography. But yeah, he's just like, hey, I know I'm your brother and I haven't spoken with you for 3 months, but do you mind if I just pull my RV into your land, your front yard, so I can stay here? Because my girlfriend got attacked by a werewolf. Doesn't actually say that, but it's like, that's what happened.
Yeah, his wounds have healed.
You know, the weird thing is I'm gonna talk like I didn't like this movie, but I actually did. I thought it was pretty good. I just find it funny when just in general, where there's like things that people do that are completely unrealistic. Like if I didn't talk to my sister for 3 months, maybe my family's really different. But if I didn't talk to her for 3 months, I doubt like it would be so easy to start up a new conversation with her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Just for the sake of this movie, they're like, yeah, he's been gone for 3 months, but his sister's still really happy to see him, even though he's been in town for those 3 months. So,
also starring the kid from Dennis the Menace.
Oh, I thought he looked familiar, and I was like, where did I see him from?
Yep, we need a
Dennis the Menace.
We need a adorable kid who isn't Macaulay Culkin. Who are you gonna get? And it's 1996.
On a tangent a little. Do you think that actually happens? They're like, man, we need the Macaulay Culkin kid in this, but he's too expensive. Is there a Walmart brand Macaulay Culkin that we could get? Like that idea of getting someone that's kind of the same type of personality and you can recognize that personality in a celebrity, and you're like, they probably were trying to get that. I noticed this in the movie Malignant, that there's a police officer, a detective in that movie, and I swear to God, they wanted to get Wanda Sykes in the movie, the comedian, you know. They couldn't afford her, but they're like, we're gonna hire you. How do you want me to act in this movie? They're like, be Wanda Sykes. That's all you have to do. I feel like that's what happened in Malignant. Could have happened here as well.
Yeah, I know it definitely happens in cheap movies where they're trying to trick people. They're like, you know, oh, she looks like Melanie Griffith, or in some cases are related to the person. So they just want them to act like they're a more famous sibling, just to trick people with name recognition. So I don't know. I'm sure that kid had an actual career at the time, because Dennis the Menace was a hit movie. Martin Landau and a Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
I don't know why he would have chosen this movie, because I didn't really feel like there was a lot to the character. I didn't feel like there was. I'm going to sound like I didn't like this movie very much either, because I didn't really feel like there was much to a lot of the characters, except for the dog.
I was just going to say, the dog had the most personality in this movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
It is one of the best dog movies I've seen, which is odd because it's not for kids at all.
No, this movie is not for kids. I thought it was my thoughts in my head when they were taking the dog away. There's these couple events that lead the mom and the son to think that the dog is like becoming violent, right? And so that like the people come with the dog lasso things and they're taking the dog away. And the dog's like pretty pissed off, doesn't want to go. And then he sees the werewolf guy. What's his character's name?
I don't remember.
But the main guy, yeah, who's like a werewolf, kind of having a bad attitude. He like waves, and then the next shot is the opposite of looking at the dog, and the dog's like, it seemed like his anger went up just after the wave, and it's like, yeah, you keep waving, I'm gonna come after you. You'll see. I'm gonna come back. You're not gonna like me then. You'll see.
Yeah.
As like, the pound is taking him away.
Yeah.
I thought that's the impression that I got. You'll see. Yeah. You keep waving.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bite that hand off when I come back.
Yeah, and that's kind of the final straw there with the like we have to call him, and and they're gonna take him and put him down because the werewolf basically provokes the dog who's defending his family, and then he winds up biting him, and then it's like, oh, you see, he tore up my arm, and because of that, they got to take the dog away and put it down because that's unfortunately what happens in those situations.
Right.
And I think the family did a good job with like portraying the emotional stress and grief of something, of like your pet's getting taken away, and like the son doesn't really understand. The mom, who's a lawyer, is trying to calm him down. But then, the werewolf guy's brother is very sinister. He even starts acting that way towards the kid. I mean, even when no one's around. And
right.
I think that's one thing that I picked up on this that's kind of different from a lot of other werewolf movies is, like in the Wolfman and American Werewolf in London, the werewolf's he's a much more tragic character.
Werewolf?
The werewolf is the guy who the werewolf is. The werewolf is always a monster running around ripping people up, and then the person realizes what's happening and they're saddled with guilt, and they're trying to figure out if there's a way out, if they can cure it, whatever. And this guy just kind of seems to enjoy being a jerk, but then he still tries to lock himself up. But then even then he's kind of like unrepentant.
Yeah, there's like that back and forth. That's like, well, where's this coming from? Because he was like nice and everything, or at least respectful in the beginning, and then he just becomes more of a dickhead like towards the end, like as the movie goes. And it's like, well, where is this coming from? He's been a werewolf for 3 months, and now he's just kind of becoming more evil, like after Thor is the name of the dog, Thor gets taken away, and then like he goes and literally pisses on the doghouse, where Thor slept.
Yeah.
It's like, well, where's this coming from? It seemed like before you were...
Well, because the dog peed on his trailer, but maybe he could smell that because he was a wolf or something. But again, that was the dog just trying to protect the family, and like, well, I know there's another dog around. He doesn't know it's a werewolf yet. I don't know what's going on through the dog's head. It's not like they have other dialogue other than woof woof.
It's just a diagram where it's like, werewolf, yes, no.
It's like the Mass Effect multiple choice thing that happens.
Yeah. Yes. Now what?
Oh, I just hurt the NPC's feelings, darn it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I missed that part where the dog Thor peed on the trailer, Okay, so I guess like it's justified. But still it's like, you're just being an asshole.
You already yeah, totally, yeah. You already got him taken away. They're gonna put him down, like, and waved sarcastically while he's going away, and you have to mark your territory on top of it. Like,
Right.
in case you didn't know who the bad guy was yet.
So I'm less knowledgeable about werewolves than other monsters. Like a werewolf can make more werewolves just by biting them or scratching them.
Yeah, it depends on. Well, no, maybe it doesn't depend on that. So, because that's what happens in American Werewolf in London, is they get attacked on the
Yeah.
moors,
Yeah.
and that's how the curse is transferred to him. Um, the guy
Oh,
winds up shooting the werewolf and, you know, ending that guy's curse, but then it's not that the act of killing him transferred the curse. It's, I guess if you get attacked by a werewolf and you live,
you become a werewolf in the future.
that is my understanding. Yeah, it functions similar to the zombies bite.
Brings up a point, right? So Thor definitely got ripped to shreds.
Hmm.
He survived, but Thor, we can't be killing dogs, you know. Uh so would Thor, with the amount of hits he took from the werewolf and survived, is he going to become a were dog? Like,
Well,
just they play with
that
it.
that's a great jump scare at the end where they've got
Yeah.
like that, dog makeup, or even the mom wonders that, after they get him back there. Um, I Do you think the movie would have been better if they ended on that, like as a cut to black jump scare, like "Rah!" Like it's
Yeah.
you do,
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah, I
showing
think
the
so.
epilogue dream?
Yeah, because then it's like, well, I guess I don't know how you would do it then, because the whole idea is like, is it a dream, isn't it? Right. So it's like you'd have to kind of like see doubt in there somehow in the beginning to set that up of is it a dream or is it not? Is it
Hmm.
your imagination or is it real?
Hmm.
So they would have to do something before that. I don't know what that would be. But if it ended with just that jump scare and then it was like bam, credits, I think that would be super effective, as like kind of unsettling that they went through all of this and you don't quite know if they're out of it yet, out of it
Yeah.
entirely.
I bet that was a real argument, was not knowing whether or not to give the family a happy end, because the movie's about the dog.
Yes.
I mean, it's based on a book called Thor, which was about, it was this
Yeah.
story about the dog.
Yeah.
And yeah, I bet that was a back and forth discussion, is like, do we give it a happy ending, or,
Yeah.
because you could have ended it there. But no, I like your chain of thought there, because then it's kind of like the Friday the 13th Part 2 problem, where, oh, she saw Muffin get the dog get killed, but then Muffin comes back, and so you really don't know how much of that was a dream or wasn't.
Right.
And that's something that gets kind of old that the first three Friday the 13th movies play with, because it just becomes like, was it a dream, or are they just crazy now? Because of
Yeah.
all the horror, they're crazy and get taken away.
Right. Right. Yeah, so I don't know. I would have liked to see like a little bit of a almost uh an an ending that you're not sure of, a more ambiguous ending,
Hmm.
Um because this movie checks a lot of those marks off where I think they could have done that and people wouldn't have hated that idea. There's sometimes where it happens where an ambiguous ending is like super annoying, right? And that's like you need like the ending of oh shit. Oh, the Christopher Nolan movie with Inception. That's the one. Where it's like you don't quite know if he made it out of it, out of the other person's brain by the end of it because of
Hmm.
the spinning whatever those things are,
Yeah.
you know. Um I would have liked to see that he made it out because that was like the whole thing. This for Leonardo DiCaprio's character in that movie, the stakes were really high. And to leave it ambiguous the way that Christopher Nolan did, I think is a disservice to all the obstacles that Leonardo DiCaprio's character was facing, you know?
Yeah,
So
and all the
that one, it
safeguards
doesn't
that
work
he
for
laid
me.
down in order
Yeah,
to.
exactly. So it doesn't work for me in that movie. But an ambiguous ending like this would work here, I think, similar to how it works in The Thing. You don't quite know, uh, but it's okay,
Mhm.
because of the tone of the movie. The tone of the movie is kind of allowing you to, or allowing that to happen, or could play out. Uh,
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think I would have liked it better for sure. I got another follow up though. So if scratching and biting and stuff by a werewolf can make werewolves, you've got a horrible businessman going door to door selling stuff that's now a werewolf. And to be quite
Well,
honest,
didn't he get his head ripped off or something?
did I miss the good juicy parts of this movie? I thought he just got attacked and that was it. If he got his head ripped off, well then I can't really say anything more about this character. What I was gonna say is like that would have been the perfect job to have as a werewolf, right? You're
Uh-huh.
a door to door salesman. You are
Oh
known
my
for just being
god.
all over the country, you know? It's the perfect cover for killing of strangers, you know?
Because you can just
Not
leave town.
Yeah, and people are expecting it. People are always expecting you to be in different locations. So they're not thinking like, "Oh, why'd you go to Albuquerque today?" It's like, because of business, dummy. What do you think I went there for?"
I
So,
I bet you someone would have put. I mean, in the internet age back then, like you probably could have gotten away with it, but in the internet age, I bet you someone would put that together. There's a whole facet of people that just like to be armchair detectives and try to like figure out these national crimes that are happening, and like they're on internet forums and like, well, I saw this on this traffic camera and this thing, and oh my
they
god,
put
ugh, I would not want
well,
to have my head wrapped around that kind of stuff constantly because it's
no. It's terrible.
yeah.
It's terrible. But if you want to see that in action, watch a documentary. It's a three-part documentary on Netflix called "Don't Fuck with Cats," and it's that exactly. It is internet detectives doing detective work and piecing something together that became like an international manhunt for this guy. It's pretty awesome.
Wow.
Starts off with like this guy's fucking around with cats, right? And doing bad things to them. And then it's like, we need to put a stop to this guy doing bad things to cats. It's a good, yes, you should.
Yeah,
And then
it's a
it
worthy
just
cause.
unravels into something much larger.
Hmm.
So really interesting. Yeah, because like that's not a hobby I would want or seek out. But that's what some people are just good at that. It's like it must be that they have a specific type of brain and they're just like, yeah, I'm gonna sift through these weird ass images or you know
Hmm.
history of whatever, and I'm gonna find this guy.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I think you're right because that same subset of people, they are the ones that James Cameron kind of, I think, got a lot of his ideas about what happened to the Titanic and when he was scientifically reconstructing that.
okay.
Um, yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, no, I would not.
I don't want that brain though.
No.
You can have it. It's cool, but I don't want it. Nothing wrong with that type of brain. Just
And
not for me.
any other werewolf questions? Because this movie does buck a couple of the more traditional things, like the silver bullets, which was
uh
to me that was
yeah.
always a little more like, okay, every monster has to have a weakness.
The silver bullet thing I never liked. So I never care that if it's not a thing that is used in a werewolf movie. If it
Hmm.
is, that's cool. If it's not, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, like you blow the head off something with a shotgun, and you'd be surprised what that'll kill. I mean, with silver bullet or not.
right. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, there was one thing, and this might just be me not realizing it, but I thought like where if you were transformed in werewolf form and you got attacked, that when you return to human form,
Mm-hmm.
you would have been healed. Right? Like, because like I thought there was like something about like werewolves can heal really quickly. But maybe I'm just making that up. Maybe that's like
Yeah.
something. What are the Kate Underworld movies? Maybe that's something that was in there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
It might be. It's again, like a lot of it depends on who's playing with the fiction, because
okay,
a lot of people definitely play fast and loose with that, and the same thing with vampires. And I think we've definitely gotten to a point where like monster fiction in particular is so saturated that you kind of have to do that, because otherwise it's like, well, just hang some garlic by the door and go to bed. He's not getting in.
right.
Come on, everybody
Don't
knows
invite him in.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and then the flip side of that is people not believing what they're obviously seeing, and like that trope gets a little old too. So
yeah.
I don't know. There's a million ways and a million permutations of playing with that, but
The other thing that I like,
I think I've seen that healing thing in other stuff too, but I don't
it
think it's
sounds familiar,
I don't
right?
think it's always instantaneous. Like it might be over the course of a day or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like that wounds by silver were like the only ones that would carry over between the two forms, like human and because I thought it was like a werewolf could get shot, and if it was just like a silver bullet, not through the heart, it was like, well, that wound isn't closing, but you know, it's still going to be a problem when I'm in human form, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah, probably.
Or the other thing is, I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm just confusing a whole bunch of shit right now,
Uh,
and that's not making any sense.
I
That could
think
be
we're
it
making up
too.
our own werewolf movie. Guy,
All
traveling
right.
salesman. We've got the healing factor figured out.
This could be a solid idea. A traveling salesman werewolf movie.
Yeah, that the internet detectives are tracking down.
Dude, and do it like you could do it like Zodiac, right? Where the focus isn't on the werewolf. The focus is on the internet detectives trying to figure out who the werewolf is. That's that's how it is.
You'd
I
have
think
to
we're
have
onto
some
something.
you'd have to have some compelling writing though, because if the focus isn't on the werewolf, I'm just picturing like, the other side of the internet where like they're just the UFO crackpots that are.
Well, I mean, like they don't focus on the werewolf in this movie. It's the Thor is the focus. It just he's the protector of the family against the werewolf.
Right,
You
right.
know, so that's what I mean. So you can still have like werewolf slashing and mutilating and full
Okay.
moons and all that shit.
We'd still see it and know that that there's actually a werewolf.
Yes, of
Okay,
course.
because I
So
think
it's a
that's.
werewolf movie.
Yeah, I think that. All right, I like it.
That sounds so
All the ingredients are
condescending.
here. Well, but it makes sense though, because like we mentioned this during the Fright Night episode. One of Steven Spielberg's contributions to that movie when they were developing the script was, look, we know there's a vampire, so let's just get to there being a vampire. And I think with
Yeah,
this kind of movie, that's also the right call to make.
get to it. Like we know. We know.
Make sure that we know so that we stay invested, and then
Yes,
carry it through and iterate it.
exactly.
All right.
One thing that I didn't like, but I thought it was going in a good direction at first, but then it wasn't, was the morphing that they did.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like the first scene where it's like he says something really intimidating and like the camera kind of comes close and it's like it's dated, but I was like, that actually looks pretty cool, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like he morphed from one makeup to the next. So it's like he was already turning. And I think that's why it looked good because it wasn't fur to clean shaven. It was like, I already have fur on and now I'm just morphing into more fur.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, it looked derpy, you know, like one eye's over here,
That
and
yeah,
and then
they
this cheek's coming way out here, and yeah,
they could have cut that very easily because the morph shot after that looks decent for the time like you're talking about. It's just that one where it's like his head's moving around and like turning into the Toxic Avenger because the eyes over.
yeah,
He looks like some weird Picasso. Like if Picasso drew a werewolf, that's kind of what you'd
yes,
wind up with.
yes,
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. Like it's like I was with you. Ooh.
yeah. I'm like, oh, this looks. Wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
this looks fine. Jk. So yeah, that was kind of a bummer, but I really liked the werewolf animatronic and what it looks like without the CG effects and everything, and its nasty eyes and wide as hell mouth, you know.
Yeah,
So I
there.
thought it looked great.
Yeah, I read some of the reviews for this, and most of them mentioned because this was not well received at the time. It did
For
not.
real?
No,
It's okay.
it didn't make a lot of money. I think it cost 7 million and only made 1 million. Um, the poster looks sweet though.
It does.
And when I came across this on streaming, what Amazon or whatever it was, that's where that poster's from. Because I've seen
Yep.
it on T-shirts, but like it clean without the text,
Yeah.
where it's like the werewolf in the clouds, and yeah, it's a sweet, it's a slick piece of marketing. I like that, but I don't
This
know.
is honestly like a movie I think I would show if I had people over for like a Halloween thing, you know? Because it's not so horror, right? Like that it's just like it's stomach you can stomach it, and I think a lot of people could. I was talking to some of my friends, and they were saying like we were talking about like horror movies for horror people, right? And there's
Hmm.
certain types of horror movies that you just wouldn't want to show a normie, but I feel like this one
Yeah, you
is one
can't
that you
go
could
straight to
should.
Hellraiser.
Right, or like Dead Alive or Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
If no one's like really into horror much at all, you don't want to just throw them into like the deep end of the world's largest hot tub,
Hmm.
So that's not good. You
Yeah.
swing, you can't swim and you're in boiling water. Like so,
True. Yeah.
so uh yeah, this one's one I could show to people to be like, hey, check out this werewolf movie. It's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So
No, I think it is. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Because it is pretty violent. Like it definitely doesn't shy away from the gore. One of the other things. So I was gonna mention this when I was talking about the reviews. There was that almost all of them said that the werewolf was unconvincing, and I was trying to put that into context of like I don't know, like it's not dog soldiers where they actually like they're suit performers, but they're not fully animatronic, like they've got like the backside
right.
legs, and like they do things to elongate it and make it look less human. Whereas I mean, like there's definitely parts where you're like, well, this is Ken Kersinger in a furry suit with a wolf mask. um
Right.
and I think that at the time, film critics especially were probably spoiled by American Werewolf in London and The Howling. Like there were definitely better, more animatronic heavy werewolf movies, whereas they wanted to take a guy in a suit approach.
Yes.
Maybe because the budget was a lot less. Um, but as I mentioned, Ken Kersinger played the werewolf. Ken Kersinger played Jason and Freddy vs. Jason. He's done a lot of Canadian stunt work, and this movie was filmed in Canada. So I saw that in the credits. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Of course he would be. He's like 9 feet tall. You want to make the guy look big. He's the guy to get if you're
Right.
in Canada.
Right. Uh I don't I felt like this werewolf was pretty intimidating, and being some 25 years removed, I guess,
Hmm.
from this movie or more, I still felt it was convincing. So I don't know what the problem was. The thing is like we can nostalgia is so strong we can say like something looked great, right? But it's just because we love the movie and we saw it at the right time,
Hmm.
you know. Uh I never knew anything about this movie other than the poster. And I was still convinced where it's like that's an intimidating werewolf and
Yeah.
I don't want any part of it. So I don't know. I think critics, if that's what they were saying, that was unfair, you know.
Yeah. I agree because, like you, I saw this for the first time for this episode, and yeah, maybe if they were specifically picking on the morphing being unconvincing, I'd be like, yeah, okay,
Of course. I agree. Yeah.
especially that really bad shot we're talking about. But I mean, the worst thing I can say about it is that, like, very occasionally there were times where it's like they're just shaking around a Halloween mask on someone's throat, you know. Um, but I mean, as one does when you're making these kind of movies. So I didn't hold that against it, but yeah, overall, I thought they did a fairly good job with what they had.
it's it's a movie I'd watch again, you know. So I
Hmm.
don't yeah, if it's good enough to watch again, it's pretty good. I give it like a B, you know. There's certain movies where it's like that's a one and done for me that are blockbusters, you know.
Hmm.
So
You know what I thought was it the characters didn't really, because like most of this movie's a fake out, of people thinking the dog's up to no good. And it really reminded me of like an episode of Goosebumps. I don't know how many of those you've seen.
not very many, but I'm a big fan of anthology shows like Outer Limits and stuff. So it's like I'm familiar with this type of format, you know.
The thing that always bugged me, and I only read a couple of them as a kid, was that it like everything was a fake out. Like they would leave you on this like breathless
Oh,
cliffhanger
yes. No, I
of
know what you mean.
like like I hear this scratch. A kid thinks there's a werewolf out there, and I hear this scratching at the door, and I was too scared to open it, but I had to, and it was just the dog. But then his shadow is but it was grandma, you know.
Yeah.
But they were kids' books, and like nobody ever got hurt. But because of the fake out nature of what's going on, it reminded me of an episode of Goosebumps, but there were actual stakes. And I think it's because we knew that once there was a werewolf, we knew there was a werewolf.
Yes. Okay.
And
Do
that's
we yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, and that's what makes the movie's greatest strength, apart from the dog being incredible, is you're seeing it through the more of the perspective of the dog as well, and putting you in that like, but I'm just doing my job, man.
Yeah.
Mindset.
Yeah. No, the dog was great in this movie. And it's so apparent that it's the dog is like the main character,
Hmm.
you know. So, yeah, despite us sounding like we took a big shit on this movie for all its like shortcomings,
Hmm.
it's a really good one. Like I'm glad I watched it. And there was still stuff that was intimidating to me even though it's an older animatronic latex werewolf movie, you know.
Hmm.
Uh I find like older movies might be harder and harder to convince to new audiences that they're any good because of the advancement we have now in technology and then how primitive it looks then, but that's not its fault. Back then it looked like it was amazing, you know. Uh so yeah, I worry about that a little bit. Like are people going to stop discovering these types of movies just because why isn't it CG, you know, or something? Why doesn't it look better?
Yeah.
So
No, that's a good question. I think that does happen. Like the more cynical audiences get, there's a lot more like looking back on things, and I mean, like with the critics saying it's unconvincing. Do they
it's a
like these?
werewolf.
do they like these kind of movies to begin with? I mean, we've seen how wrong critics can get things because, like, I cannot believe the Siskel and Ebert review of that Wes Craven Swamp Thing. That was bad, and they're both like, oh, I liked it. It was a cheesy monster and a cheesy monster movie, and like you could watch this and have that exact same feeling, but those people didn't. So I don't know. A lot of that's subjective, and yeah, I mean, like looking back on it is definitely always an interesting question, and you just you don't know until it happens, and you try and show your nephew or something like that, and you're like, that looks phony because it's not Vecna from Stranger Things.
Go mow the lawn.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here now. So yeah, for me, yeah, I'm glad I watched this. This is a good one.
Okay.
I hope more people watch it and check out the poster. At the very least, check out the poster.
Yeah, if you do nothing else, it'd make a nice like Halloween desktop wallpaper.
Yeah. I will say this though. The still photo that they used on Shudder makes the werewolf look real bad. So if you're not sold on that picture, just go ahead and hit the play button, because the werewolf looks a million times better than what they have in that photo that is like on the background before you start.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this doofy looking werewolf looking up or something.
See, like Amazon did a bad job with that too, because when I watched it on Prime, it's like, oh, there's that badass looking wolf poster, and then you click on it and it's the guy like in front of his trailer. It's like, who picked that thumbnail? Like,
who's responsible?
Yeah,
I want to know your name.
It's always funny when that happens, but I don't know. We could go down a rabbit hole with that. Let's not do that. Bad Moon, check it out. I think it's an underrated movie. It might not be an absolute classic like American Werewolf or the first Howling. None of the other ones, but the first one. But it's pretty good.
It is good.
Yeah.
And the 90s was rife with bad movies, and this is not one of them. So I would say bad horror movies. So this one's not one of them.
Yeah.
So just because it came out in 96, don't let that sway you. But yeah, the 90s were terrible for horror movies. Just fucking terrible. All right. See you in the next one.
Yeah. There's always that one fucking rooftop where everyone can just see all of Tokyo and everything that's going on, and the main characters are just like on there commenting about what's going on, and like this movie definitely had that until Godzilla gets pissed off and comes over and kills the one like G-Man for some perceived slight. I don't know.